I am Bryce Newberger, and this is the Kinship Chronicles, Children of the Phoenix. Chapter 17. The slender, silver-armored soldier stuck his sword savagely into the peasant before him. The mewling insignificant reached out, grasping for a hold on his raiment as he died. He removed his sword from the corpse. He was the second in command of this elite brigade. This town was just the first stop for them, a light exercise before they fought anyone who could actually fight back. He grew tired of slaughtering innocents. Not because he had any remorse or even a soul. He had participated in a global campaign that had taken him to every great battlefield he could imagine. Every victory was hard-earned, and every contest was a test of skill. He was Absolich, commander of the Legion and a warrior with few equals. He longed for a challenge, and suddenly, he found it. Before him, a large, ferocious beast man was brawling with his soldiers, using nothing but a punching dagger with inferior reach. The green warrior was laying waste to soldiers with years of battlefield experience. As Absolich looked closer, the warrior wasn't fighting for his life. He was enjoying the combat. Yes, he caught himself saying aloud, despite himself. He strode towards the monstrous brute with his sword held at the ready. Skidell sidestepped the weapon of a nameless soldier and responded by giving a savage blow to the face that dented the helmet and punched his blade into the skull. As yet another assailant fell before him, he witnessed a more slender aggressor walking towards him with a challenging calmness. The approaching duelist wore markings of a commander. Skidell reveled in the prospect of a better fight, but decided a more appropriate weapon would be needed. He looked about himself until he found a large battle axe stuck into a corpse. He hefted up the two-handed weapon using just one hand and faced his new foe. The beastman wore no armor, so Absolich decided to even the odds a bit. He removed his helmet to reveal long white hair atop a head that bore red, bloodshot eyes, bruised purplish skin, and pointed ears. He was a dark elder, a corrupted and evil mockery of the ancient race of beings who had once brought hope and victory to the world. They were ageless and immortal, and above all else, sadistic. "Come, beast, my blade craves the taste of your blood," he said as he unclasped his breastplate. "You're awfully scrawny for a soldier," Skidell spat. He rushed in and brought his axe about in a savage swing. The elder ducked and stepped in with his blade. Simple. He almost frowned to himself as the battle was about to be ended with a killing blow. Before his sword found purchase in the green flesh, Skidell blocked with his punching dagger in his other hand. Caught off guard, the elder stumbled and was kicked to the ground by the beastman. "Ain't you skinnies supposed to be quick?" Instead of being angered by the taunt, Absolich smiled. "It's been a long time since I've been challenged. You will serve as a good warm-up for the war to come." Skidell crashed his axe where Absolich was lying, but the agile opponent slipped away and thrust his blade again at the monster, who again parried with the punching dagger. Skidell swung his axe in surprisingly fast and complex patterns that displayed his superior physical strength. Absolich was quick and hard to track down. Forced to withdraw into the doorway of a burning building, Skidell retreated, but seemed almost satisfied with his regress. Soldiers rushed in to help, but were halted by the commander. "No, don't interfere." He ran at Skidell and slid low between his legs at the last moment. Skidell jumped over the attack and braced himself against a collapsing wall. Absolich paced left and right, looking for an opening like a predator on a lamb. With Skidell cornered, there was no room to dance around him. He realized that the clever beastman had let himself be run into this position. "No more dancing," Skidell said as he charged in and fought the agile elder, now on equal grounds. Absolich tried to duck the charge, but space was limited. He caught a knee to the chest and found himself staring at a punching dagger. At the last possible second, he twisted his body in an impressive arc to dodge the blow. He didn't see the axe blade coming at him directly in his path. His last vision was from the vantage point of his decapitated head, looking up at his body. Absolich was dead. Bryn had hoisted himself up. He was using blood magic to direct the flow of blood away from the wound to slow his body from bleeding out. Ada helped him walk while Teddy and Amora stuck close behind. The only way for the family to escape together was to find Chanik. He had the tools and experience to both bandage Bryn and get them to safety. They retraced their steps to where they had left him. Fallhurst watched the glowing eye fade to black as the last morsel of life drained from the corpse of the Cyborii. He then turned his attention to the family that had stumbled upon them. Bryn looked on with sadness. Shannik the bard, who had brought song and laughter for years to the town, the surprising savior of his children, had been killed. Ada, get the children to safety, he grunted and stepped away from her. Ada didn't release her husband. No! She reached out her hand, but found no purchase in the mind of the ominous general. It was as if his head was an empty void. Ada, you know what needs to be done. Bryn grabbed her and stared hard into her eyes. She looked deep back into them with a destroyed sadness. She locked lips with him violently and passionately, then ran away with the children. Amora and Teddy screamed as they were carted away. Bryn lifted his sword with great effort. Come, I have yet another monster to slay. A sick, quiet chuckle echoed from the recesses of armor from the giant red-caped general. Bryn walked with a woozy step. He lunged at the general, who flicked the blow aside and stuck his sword in his victim's chest. Bryn twisted so that the sword planted itself in his shoulder and not his heart. He then stepped into the weapon, causing the blade to burst out from the other side of his back while his free hand seized Fallhurst by the neck. Within a half-second, Fallhurst felt blood rushing into his chest. He realized what he was really facing. A bloodmancer. With all his might, he threw Bryn off his sword, away from him and into the alley wall. Fallhurst coughed and stumbled. For the first time, he showed signs of mortality. Bryn rose heavy again to his feet. Death could not yet take him. Ada rushed her children to the edge of town. She had slipped past the battle through gaps where resistance was strongest, notably where Skadel was impressively slaughtering soldiers left and right. It was ironic that their greatest adversary would be their avenue to freedom. When she got to the forest bordering the town, she knelt down to look her crying children in the eyes. Run deep into the forest and wait for me at the fishing pond. Where are you going? Asked Amora in a fit. Ada pulled Teddy away from her and set her children so they could both see her. The look in her eyes quieted them and enraptured their attention. I'm going to save your father. And without any more arguments, Ada ran back to save her husband. General Fallhurst ducked back away from Bryn's attack. He wasn't sure how the mortally wounded man was still moving, much less did he understand how he was putting up such a savage offense. The man seemed to have died and been replaced with a wraith whose only goal was vengeance. Though intense, the exchange was wild and self-destructive. Fallhurst stepped into one swing and crashed his helmet into Bryn's face. All went black for a moment and blood filled Bryn's nose. While still practically blind, Bryn rolled left and heard a sword stab to the right of him. His vision returned just in time to raise his sword in defense. He had lost his aggressive edge. His limbs grew heavy and every moment felt taxing. Finally, his miraculous display failed, and he was knocked down again by a solid bootfall that had planted all of the massive armored foe's weight onto Bryn's chest. His bones crunched, his energy disappeared, and his magic failed. Blood streamed from his side, shoulder, and nose. Almost instantly, he turned pale and white. Again, the whispery laughter could be heard. Get off my husband! Fallhurst looked up at Ada, who was brandishing Bryn's pistol. He planted his weight to lunge at her, causing a scream from Bryn. He flew back instead of forward as Ada shot him square in the chest. Rushing to Bryn's side, she was a ruin of blood and cracked bone. No, 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 she pleaded. With a cough and a choke, Bryn said, Thank you for everything we had. I love you, was all she could say. Fallhurst stirred, then sat up. A dent was present in his breastplate, but no hole. Not that easy. His quiet, eerie voice had taken a vengeful tone. Then something happened that was not planned by any of them. All the buildings in town exploded. Thank you for listening. I'm Bryce Newberger, and this has been the Kinship Chronicles, Children of the Phoenix. If you enjoyed what you heard and you'd like to purchase the full book, then either look up New Books on the Google Play bookstore, NEU Books, or simply click the link in the description. The book is only $5, and I appreciate your support.